For clicking on the video. This is David Pendleton, and we're going to go ahead and go for the pro walkthrough of this week's 9-hole cup tournament. And we have a few drops in here, but we also have a few that are left right at the cup. So I'm pretty confident that once we talk through these 9 holes, you're going to be really set up to have yourself a really good round. And the qualifying score is so important right now with the new structure in the tournament, because more and more people are tying. So we need to make sure that we capitalize on these extra drops. That way we can finish as high up the standings as possible. Please subscribe on YouTube, and please hit the thumbs up button. Those two things don't take you much time, and they do mean a lot to me. So let's go ahead and hop into hole number 1. Hole number 1 is going to be par 4. That gives us a really good opportunity here for an eagle. And as you can see, I'm playing this one at 10% elevation. We're using a Kingmaker, and we are going 3 bars of top spin with 3 bars of left side spin. Then from here, I'm just making my 10% adjustment, and we're just going to take a normal shot. There's not going to be any overpower needed, nothing like that. We're just going to get ourselves into a nice area on the fairway to where we can attack the hole and try to pick up an eagle. So we come in there, 339 yards, leaves us for shot number 2. We're playing shot number 2 at no elevation. Now you'll have to check your own distance, of your wood club and kind of see where you're at as far as, obviously minimum, medium, and max. I played this one, sort of between mid and max. As you can see here, I'm using backspin, but I am making sure that my ball guideline goes through the hole. And the reason that we're going through the hole is because we are getting headwind. You see the speed is really good, but we just barely miss this ball to the right-hand side. And here's another crack at it with my other pro account. So I'm kind of in the same area. I'm sort of between medium and maximum distance of my club. If this was a normal tournament in the old structure, we would have started with these distances and we would have worked on a slider percentage for the second shot. But, we don't have that time to do that in a 9-hole cup, and it's really not worth it at this point. So, as you can see, on my first shot, I missed barely to the right-hand side. So I'm using the exact same spin adjustment, and this time I'm offsetting just barely outside the left edge of the cup. And a lot closer, but we just barely miss to the left-hand side. So now we know where we need to aim, which is always nice. So as you can see right there, I end up putting my ball guideline touching the left edge of the cup. So for everybody watching, all you need to do is make sure that your ball guideline is through the pin. Make sure you're using the same spin adjustment as me. Okay, notice I used back spin with 1 bar of left side spin. That'll be crucial when you're trying to copy the shot. And instead of aiming the ball guideline just to the edge of the left-hand side of the cup, you're going to want this ball guideline in the cup left-hand side, and that should even this shot out. So good luck, everybody. I hope you're able to knock that one in. Now this takes us on to hole number 2. Hole number 2, I tried playing it 2 different ways. Since we are just getting barely a tick of tailwind, not much, it's almost full crosswind, I decided to try to play this with the Goliath. This is how I play this particular wind angle a lot in a shootout on Tour 10. Now, of course, the goal on a shootout and one-on-one play is just to get as close to the hole as possible. In this situation, we're trying to drop a shot, be in a tournament, and get a hole-in-one. This is a very difficult hole to get a hole-in-one on. But I do have a Goliath shot here, and I also have a sniper shot coming up. We are playing this one at 10% at max distance of my Goliath. I just don't like the crosswind from right to left here. It put me too close to that sand line. And overall, the speed was good. It's just not really close to going in the hole. So now I tried this one. Now we're going to play this one at 10% elevation. And we're going to be using mid distance of our sniper. And due to such a strong wind push, I'm trying to offset quite a bit here. And it's really hard just finding like a good groove, with how rolly this fairway is. A lot of hills, a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately I settled here. Hit a pretty bad great left, which at the end of the day here actually helped me out because I still came into the right-hand side of the hole. So you're going to have to see, you're going to have to offset this ball by quite a bit more because I hit a bad great left and we still came into the right-hand side of the cup. But it's up to you on how you want to play Goliath or Sniper. As you can see, the spin adjustments that I used were very good as the speed to the cup was perfect. At that point, you just need to find a different offset position. Either way, this will be a very lucky hole-in-one if you drop it. But, definitely picking up the birdie and heading on to hole number 3. Now, hole number 3, this gives us a really good chance for an albatross for sure. I had a kingmaker here, but we're getting tailwind. So I did go ahead and swap it out to a Titan. And you don't want to abuse the topspin here. As you can see, with an extra mile 9, I have a ton of topspin, and I'm only using half of it, okay? The biggest reason is you're going to get a really good secondary wind push here once you hit this drive. So 10% elevation on the drive at max distance of our driver. And you can see that if my ball guideline was on the middle of the fairway, right, and this ball just takes off, and it gets us really close to the rough line. Now, ideally, this is where we want to be. We want to get as much distance as possible on this drive because that'll set us up for a really good shot on the second shot for the albatross. Now, you just want to make sure on this shot, okay, I don't know if you noticed or not, but my opponent's icon was stuck in the rough. I would recommend that you pull with as much as a straight wind arrow as possible when we're talking about tailwind on this hole. We are getting very slight right to left wind. So I think best case scenario, if you pull this one with a very slight 1201 pull angle, you'll never get stuck in the rough. If you don't pay attention to the pull angle, and when you go to pull your rings, if it's a slight 1159, it could get stuck in the rough, okay? That's the best advice I can give you, is if you want to completely eliminate the possibility of getting stuck in the rough, pull it a slight 1201. If you don't know what that means, it means when you go to pull your rings, you want this arrow right here, the wind arrow, to be blowing north. As north as possible is what we normally aim for. 1201 means you're going to completely eliminate letting the arrow go from north to north left because it flickers all the way around. You're going to completely eliminate the flicker from north to north left. You're only going to let it go north to north right, which is a 1201. That's like reading a clock. Now look at my spin here. I did settle on about half of a bar of top spin with just a sliver of side spin to the left. You can see there, I'm letting that wind arrow flicker around too much. I didn't really think about a 1201 until after the shot. But either way, no fear of getting stuck in the rough. So what I would do if I were you is add just a smidge more top spin and completely eliminate the right side spin. Now, I didn't use a lot of right side spin, but we're going to need no right side spin with just a smidge more top spin, and that ball would have dropped for an albatross. So, learn from that one. That's a really good opportunity to throw an albatross on the scorecard, which would be so huge when it comes to tiebreakers. All right. This brings us on to hole number 4. Now, hole number 4 has been weird today on rookie, as I have to play it around 30 to 35% elevation. And we're actually going to do the same thing. Normally, this hole is played at 20%. But with this wind angle, it's just playing a lot more elevation. So we need to pull our rings a lot more than we normally do. And on top of that, we're going to be using max distance numbers. Not a hole we normally use max distance on when it comes to a shootout and one-on-one play. But regardless, 30% elevation, we are using a katana, and we are using max distance numbers. Now, the thing I want you to know about this replay is this shot was played at 35% elevation. And you can see here I'm using backspin, and I'm just trying to get my ball dead center of the cup. And here, I'm trying to favor a very slight 1159 pull angle. So that's 35% elevation, and I just barely missed to the left-hand side. So that means I pulled too many rings to the left, so my elevation was too high. This shot right here is going to be played at 30% elevation. Now you can see here I'm using 6 bars of backspin. And even though I'm at minimum distance of my sniper, I am using max distance numbers. So this is a very aggressive wind push on this hole that we need to do that on. So that was a lot better at 30%. I just used too much backspin. So 5.8 bars of backspin would have had the ball come in a little faster, which would have put us more center of the cup. So there we go. So that's a really good opportunity for a hole-in-one, everybody, and I really hope you're able to pick it up. Now this is going to bring us into hole number 5. Hole number 5, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm very frustrated on because I made a very, very, very stupid mental mistake, okay? So here's an attempt at the hole, or at the drive. And as you can see here, I'm trying to get as much distance as possible. So I'm going full top spin, 2 bars of right side spin. And I'm just trying to make sure that my ball guideline is showing on the middle of that fairway there at the very top. Now I go to pull my rings, and then I push back up to max. And because I push back up to max, my ball lands in the sand here. So I got too much distance on my drive. I should not have pushed back up to max. And the reason that I'm upset at myself is because I did the exact same thing on my other account. But, you know, sometimes you just have to play it and take it as what it is. So I played this shot right here at no elevation. I played this at no elevation. I played it at exact medium distance numbers of my Goliath. And I was able to pick up a pretty lucky drop right there, okay? You know, but ultimately what I'm trying to do here is I should have just moved my 10% elevation right there and just taken the shot. So that's what I suggest you do instead of pushing back up to max. And we're trying to power the ball up to the second fairway to get us in a thorn range shot, making this a much easier eagle than going long range Goliath like I did. All right, so that's kind of what you get on my channel. You get to see the good and you get to see the bad. that way we can learn together from the mistakes and we can learn together from the wins. All right, so now we're going to head on to hole number 6, which, leaves us again for another really good chance to drop an eagle. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of people eagle this hole. But on the drive here, you can see I'm using 10% elevation. And all I'm doing is using full left spin. I'm not using any top spin or any back spin. This isn't a hole where we need to launch the ball up the fairway. There is a really good power hook slice shot that you can execute on this hole. And that's what we would be doing if it was the old school format where we get to dial in our shots. But we're just going to play it straight up in this situation. And then from here, I'm using 10% elevation at mid distance of my sniper. Now again, we're going to take a look at the spin. 4 back, 1 bar left. Let me pause it here for a second. So we can take a look at the offset. Notice how the offset here, I've got the ball guide line just barely through the hole. And it is, the end of my ball guide line is about halfway in the cup and halfway onto the green. So just kind of splitting the ball guide line in half. And we're able to get this one to roll around the cup and fall in for an eagle. So, what do we do to make sure that, it doesn't roll around the cup? We just move our ball guide line just a fraction, just a hair over to the right of where I lined up. And that'll be a little bit more dead center for you. But either way, we pick up an extra shot right there. And that was an albatross. Sorry, albatross, not an eagle. Right? That's an alba? Yeah, that's an albatross. Okay. Yeah, just making sure. All right. So now on hole number 7. Now, hole number 7 is sort of a tricky one, okay? Because with the way the wind angle is here, it's really one of the hardest wind angles you can get on this hole. So we have headwind and we have it crosswind from right to left. This is the complete opposite of where we want to go because the hole is on the green but way over here on the right-hand side. So you're going to apply a full left spin and you're going to apply back spin until you get a pretty hefty ball guide line going through the pin. Now, the biggest thing is, and, maybe you don't play Tour 10 yet. Maybe you do. I don't know. But when you go to play this on Tour 10, you kind of play it the same way as we're playing it in this tournament shot right here. When you go to pull your rings, you are dipping down, okay? So you're going from a higher point to a lower point. And when you dip down into a bunker like that, there's 2 ways you can compensate. One, you can go ahead and push your rings back up a little bit. So you'd have to flip the camera around and push your rings back up. Or 2, in this situation, since it's not a very heavy dip, we can use just a little bit of overpower to make sure that we get our distance back on the shot. And as you can see there, I didn't use a lot of overpower at all. It's just a tad. There's not a lot needed. But if you don't use the overpower, what you will end up doing, and I learned this the hard way, instead of touching down right there, okay, you see, we may touch down a little lower here and actually hit the inside of the fairway where it connects with the bunker, and that would normally shoot your ball backwards. Speed is pretty good, just overall pretty close. And I do think this does give us a good chance for a hole-in-one. And here's my second opportunity at the hole. I'm lining up the same way, but this time I'm putting a lot more ball guide line through the hole. So a lot more ball guide line through the hole. Same adjustment. As you can see here, just a baby amount of overpower. Now, unfortunately, I fire off a great shot, but I do like the speed better. And who knows what would have happened there with the perfect ball. It could have been a hole-in-one. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I feel pretty good about it. So there's that. There's a way to attack that hole. Now that he's on the hole number 8. Hole number 8, I'm very disappointed that I didn't get this drop. Because this is a hole that I'm very confident in picking up an eagle on. Especially in one-on-one play. But we're going to play this shot at 10% elevation. You know, we're just going with a lot of top spin. We're going to go with max right side spin. And the curl, you know, you can use about 3/4 of a ball of curl to the right. And even with a great shot to the right, I still have plenty of fairway to work with there and plenty of fairway to work with here. So there's no fear of clipping the rough on the bounce or on the roll, which I like. This shot number 2, is uphill. We are playing it uphill at minus 10% elevation. And on this hole, it is best if you use the fringe as your reference point to start your spin. You do want to land the ball on the fringe and let it bounce and roll onto the green. I take a look at this shot. I'm using just enough backspin to keep my ball guideline through the hole. I am aiming dead center. Now, I miss this with a perfect ball, and there's a reason that I miss. When I go back and I watch the replay, and this is kind of sometimes how detailed you have to get when it comes to winning a tournament. When I pull my rings, look at the wind angle right there. So notice how it's a 1201 pull angle. This just means, see how hard of a 1201 pull angle is? This wind is not blowing north perfectly. It's blowing north to north right. So that's a 1201, which caused my ball right here to miss to the right-hand side. So, you know, learn off that mistake. Don't do what I did there. Make sure you pull that thing exactly north, or just go ahead and offset your ball guideline. Put the ball guideline still in the cup, but just favor the left-hand side of the cup. And then no matter how you pull, you're going to be okay. But that's why I missed. And so what I would do, let's say I had another crack at this, I would just favor the left-hand side of the cup and then call it a day. All right? Brings us on the hole number 9. Now, I'll be honest with you, hole number 9, I threw one in the water, okay? Not a good situation to be in. So, you know, I was talking to somebody on Facebook about it, and I was like, hey, like, how are you attacking a hole number 9? And they said, hey, I'm using a shot from Tommy because one of my buddies also put one in the water on the second shot. So, this is actually a really good way to play the hole. I wouldn't have thought of it for sure, but we use all of our resources, right? Especially in a 9-hole cup. So here, we're trying to get as much distance on the drive as possible. I think he's using like a rock or something. I didn't care to switch out the thing. It's a pretty easy drive. I don't think you need to switch drivers. But here, I'm just using 10% elevation. I'm using probably just a smidge of backspin to make sure I don't go too far on the drive. But again, this is a situation where we do want to get as much distance on the drive as possible. But in the future, I would probably use a little bit more backspin than that because that's just a little bit scary, okay? A little bit too scary. Now we're using a Guardian. And all you're going to do, everybody, is just go full backspin. Pull it at no elevation. Push back up to max. And just use overpower. And the nice part about this is I hit great right. And you can see there's so much fairway and green to work with, the great shot's not going to matter. And that puts us right there. So there's our qualifying round on pro. So you got yourself a minus 14 path right there, which is plenty of score to get you around the top of your qualifying bracket. You know, if you also pick up that Albatross, that's a great thing for a tiebreaker. All combined in. Solid walkthrough. I hope that helps out. If you have any questions or concerns, put them in the comments. Good luck, everybody.